Hey everybody, welcome to season 5 of What's IGN Crushing On. I'm Karen Welby Solomon and I'm your host, and we're here to talk about what's hot in pop culture. Today's episode is brought to you by Syntech. Syntech is a technology company that sources and distributes industry-leading products and brands from around the world. And the gang is back together. Welcome, Leanne.
Hello, Karen.
Welcome, Rebecca.
Greetings. Is that a flight behind you?
It's an airplane. Do you know jet setting out in the world?
What type of airplane?
Yeah, is it sound design or did you land?
It's me arriving for the podcast. Look at how I made it happen.
Nice, yeah. Welcome.
I love you arrive like in your gown. Like,
I cannot tell the people I'm in my gown.
Cup of tea in hand.
So we've been away for about 2 months, I want to say. Around about 2 months. A lot has happened in that time. I'm a lot tanner. That's the most important thing that has happened in that time. After that, so we have an exciting new podcast that's also coming out soon. We partnered with South Africa's #1 entertainment website, Channel 24, to create something special. And we can't reveal too much, but keep a watch to their like social media pages, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, for more when that eventually drops. And of course, we will let you know too, because, we're all up in the business. But we just wanted to let you guys, we wanted you guys to be the first to know, because if you listen to this, you probably are a regular Crushing On listener. But other than that, I mean, the times I really missed the podcast was when there was big news happening and I couldn't really discuss it with anybody other than my like 5 Twitter followers. So one of the greatest things that happened during the summer holidays and Leo season and all of those things is that Bennifer officially tied the knot. I mean, we've been rooting for them on this podcast, and they finally put a ring on it for realsies. It's the second time married for Ben. His first wife was, of course, Jennifer Garner, and then it's a 4th marriage for J-Lo, but it's the first marriage to her true love. So, that's how we count it.
I believed in love until I woke up yesterday and found out about Kim and Pete.
Oh, God. What happened there?
They broke up. Kim and Pete. Karen, don't make your face like that, please.
As in, like, the funny guy. Like Pete, that funny dude with the face.
Pete Davidson. Guy with the face. Okay, firstly, Bex, you did know they were dating, right?
Yeah, I thought it was like play. I thought it was just because he was funny, and then it was just for like media purposes. Okay.
Okay, yeah, no. Okay, I didn't think they were going to get married, but I didn't think it would be
nice.
So
you thought they were gonna. You thought they were going to get married.
It would have been nice, maybe. Although she has like 4 kids and a lot of like baggage and stuff. Like, it's a lot, and he's Pete. So like, yeah. But I mean, it's just I really liked. Okay, so what happened while we were on break is I finally gave in and started watching the Kardashians on Disney Plus. My husband came home one day. And I was like, I'm so sorry, it finally happened. And he heard the Kardashian voices and then he threatened to leave. It was like a whole drama. Anyway, because I had never actually watched an episode. I used to just like figure out everything via tabloid news. And it was actually so interesting because obviously in the new season, or in the first season on Hulu, they cover the start of the relationship and just how light and airy Kim is when she's with him. Like, just she's like such a different person because she's so relaxed and she's just her authentic self, and it's not like this pressure to be something or someone. And so I really liked that for her. I think like I just really enjoyed that narrative. So I am a little bit sad that they're having to call it quits. I mean, their lives are crazy. I don't know that it would have lasted much longer, but like, yeah, I'm glad she got this time. I mean, she did admit on on the season that it was, she was DTF.
Yeah.
So
But I mean, I
glad she got
think I think what she said was that it started out like that,
mm,
but because she didn't intend for it to be a relationship, and then they just got along so well that it became a relationship. So I mean, that is good, and there's something I honestly believe. Like I've been thinking about this a lot, and I was like, there must be something about Pete that is not just he's he's BDE, but more than that, like he's got it, and more than being funny, because I think a lot of people are funny, but I think that there must be something that's very likable about him that makes, because the thing is that it's not like Colin Farrell in the early 2000s where just all these girls had slept with him. It's more
mm,
like these women are having relationships with him,
yeah.
so there
I think
must
it
be a reason
was,
why.
who was it? It was a model lady. Oh, my memory betrays me, but she was on Jimmy Fallon. And she was, I think it was Emily, I can never say her surname, like
Patagowski.
that
Yeah.
one. She was on Fallon and she was saying, because she had to do a shoot with Pete, and she was like, he's actually just genuinely a nice guy. Like, everyone wants to know what the secret is. The secret is
Mm.
he is just the sweet, authentic, down to earth person. And I was just like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, because, like you said, people might start chasing the BDE, but it definitely turns into something deeper because, yeah.
Yeah, and a
Mm.
nice guy like that is probably difficult to find in a place like Hollywood. They're few and far between, I'm assuming.
Exactly.
Yeah, and he's like, he's a very open person. Everybody knows like how his father died, and he's
Mm.
been like, he has his like, during his stand up, he talks openly about his mental health problems, his addiction problems, and all of those things. So he's very open, and secondly, he lived with his mother for his mother lived with him, and he always make
Mm,
Yeah.
jokes about it, but like it's no secret also how close he is to his mother and his sister. I mean, his mother
Mm.
used to come and do skits on SNL with him. And like
Mm.
so it's like you see how he treats his family, and it's just like he seems like the type of person that could be a very nice guy. I'm not gonna lie, when he and Ariana were together, I was like, what is this girl doing? Like why are you with him? But
these girls be
now I
settling,
now
as you put it that one
yeah,
time.
yeah, these girls be settling. I'm not, but now shame. I understand the Pete thing. Leanne always gets us to talk about Pete such a lot. Like,
I know, man. It's
I wonder
weird.
what it
It's the
is.
psychology of it. It's just like it's
yeah, the
fascinating to me.
psychology. Yeah, for this BDE. And then, in some other news, we were chatting about this a bit offline, but you guys know I'm a big Bridgerton fan. I mean, we had an entire episode of the podcast just dedicated to Bridgerton.
For
Um,
sure.
but Netflix is actually suing the creators of the unofficial Bridgerton musical.
Hectic.
So, so do you guys know about the unofficial Bridgerton musical?
Mm-mm. I
Okay.
saw the news, but now
Mm.
I want to see the musical before
Not
actually seeing
really.
Bridgerton. But yeah, you go.
So, this is my time to shine.
Yes.
So, after season one of Bridgerton, so two theater performers, I'm not quite sure if they're both performers or if the one is like a composer or something like that. But
Mm.
so I think, and they work on Broadway, and the one was just like made a TikTok. She's like, imagine Bridgerton was a musical, and then she just started making up a song from like some of the dialogue,
Mm.
and then people started like stitching it, so they also started like making their versions of it and adding to it. And then so the original, I want to let's the names are Bardo and Bear, but I want to see if I don't know which one which one started singing and which one didn't. And then the other one joined. Bala or slash Bear Joy
Mm.
is a friend, like as a friend came out and she started writing more music and the two of them started creating more songs. And in the end they created an entire album based on season one of Bridgerton. And initially Netflix was quite supportive. They were like, because obviously, any kind of
That's amazing.
fan-made production adds more exposure to what they've created. So they
Mm.
shared it, and it went viral. Everyone was talking about it. Everyone was
Mhm.
listening to it, like within the Bridgerton community. It sort of like became like kind of like canon. Like you watch
Mm.
Bridgerton, you listen to the Bridgerton soundtrack, which is just mostly like like score, like orchestral scores of like popular songs, and then you listen to the Bridgerton musical, which is original music.
Mm.
And yeah, it did really well, and they sold like the album is on Spotify and Apple Music, and it obviously did well. And then they
Yeah.
won in February. They won a Grammy for like a soundtrack, like from film or TV. Um, the actual Bridgerton soundtrack was also nominated.
Oh.
And the unofficial
Oof.
Bridgerton soundtrack won. Like
Oh wow.
that's how but it was
Oof.
like so
Okay.
amazing because it was like, this
That's
was the fan,
awkward.
and like Bridgerton, like I mean Netflix was still like kind of okay with it. But what kind of changed things was that Bardo and Bay started doing these concerts called
Uh.
Unofficial Bridgerton Musical Album Live in Concert. And they had one at the Kennedy Center in America,
Mm.
and they were going to tour to I think like the UK and stuff like that. And the thing is that now what's happening is that they're making money based on intellectual property that is owned by Julia Quinn and Netflix, and
Hmm.
without the approval, because I mean it even
Yeah.
says unofficial. So, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't
That makes sense.
exactly argue as to, what is right and what's not. I mean, Netflix
Yeah.
obviously made a decision in suing them because now it looks a bit like sour grapes, and
Mm.
looks like a situation, but but like but yeah, so it's so we I don't exactly know who's right and who's not, because as I said, I'm not a lawyer, but they see the musical the live in concert thing as a sort of like a threat to their own live event, the Queen's Ball, a Bridgerton experience, which
Yeah.
they had around the world. Then so so yeah, so it's that. And like I also like, maybe if they called it the Bridgerton musical, because I don't think, they can change the names in the songs, but the songs that they wrote, the music and the
Mm.
lyrics are relatively original.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, if they took like Bridgerton out, everyone would still know. But
Mm.
just toured with their music, I'm sure that would be fine, and not like and take the characters' names out of the song. But I mean, we
Yeah.
have characters' names in songs that are not officially from, like people have spoken about like characters from movies and TV and songs that are not officially like connected to that movie, TV, or that sort of thing. So
Mm.
Mm.
I think that for them, like, I mean, Netflix is obviously the kids with the money. So if it ends up being a problem for them, they can still tour with the music under a different name or whatever. Because
Yeah.
quite frankly, Netflix does not own that music. It does not own that lyrics. They
Yeah.
just own
Sure.
the
This
name
is
Bridgerton.
difficult. It's quite a
Yeah.
difficult thing because I my question would be like, how much different is this from something like fan fiction, apart from the fact that they're making money from it.
Yeah. So that is the only
Um,
thing. So they didn't have a problem with it before. I mean, even they didn't even have a problem with their Spotify album. I mean, Spotify,
uh,
but their album. But what they had a problem was these concerts that they were holding that
yeah,
was making money. So
yeah,
the thing about fan fiction is that if fanfic, if you wrote a book based on Harry Potter with the characters' names that are Harry and Hermione and Ginny,
yes.
and it's not
Then
okayed by the people, that is copyright infringement, and you can be sued. If you wrote that
Mm,
same book and you made the characters named Shmary and Lamoni
mm,
and that sort of thing, that would be
Yeah,
fine because you're not
sure.
technically using their the intellectual property. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's yeah, that's the
Yeah,
thing.
it's an interesting discussion then also about like intellectual, just the whole thing of intellectual property and how like the lines are not even clear even in today's where there's so many laws for everything in place.
Mm,
For something like this with Netflix, the lines aren't even clear.
mm.
So they were obviously like just talking nonsense on in the middle of their
I
like
think that
why would you say
Netflix
something like
was.
that and not
I
expect
think
backlash?
I think Netflix was supportive up
Uh,
until they started making money. And we also need to understand that there's different areas of Netflix. So the marketing team
uh,
of Netflix could be very supportive, but the legal
mm,
team is not, or the events
yeah,
team is not.
Also, it's worth
Yeah.
mentioning, like, it's not just Netflix, it's also Shondaland, because it's her production company that's losing out. So yes, it's in partnership with Netflix because it's a Netflix original, but it's very much also Shondaland that's kind of
Mm.
part of the suit.
But back to the good times. Today on the show, we were joined by Shameez Patel Papathanasiou. I'm still like, and I can say that I can say her surname. So
Hey, 10
those of you
points.
with a good memory will remember that Shameez was on the show in during season 1. And that time, she maybe mentioned that she's a writer as well on the side. And we spoke a lot about usual pop culture things. But since then, it's been 2 years. Since then, she has released her book, The Last Feather, and it has been making such a stir. People have been loving this book. I myself have read it and I loved it. I don't,
Hmm.
I don't, and it took me like not long to read, which for me is a sign that it's a good book. But I just want to tell you more about the book. So, The Last Feather tells a story of 22-year-old Cassia, whose sister is dying and she doesn't know why. Soon after, Cassia wakes up in another realm. Not only does she find her missing best friend Lucas, but he knows how to save her sister. Meanwhile, Lucas is part of a community of reborns, people who were born on Earth and after death were reborn in this realm with magical abilities. The original beings of the realm, the first, rule over them. But to keep the reborn numbers manageable, the king of the first releases a curse to cull them, and Cassia finds herself in the middle of it. She needs to break the curse before her time runs out. Otherwise, she'll be trapped there forever. So I haven't read fantasy in quite a while, but I have this weird relationship with fantasy where I would be like, I'm not really a fan of fantasy. And then I'll start reading like the first book in a series and read that whole series in like a week or something like that. Because you get so like sucked into the world. And this is what Shamise does really well. The world that she creates is so intriguing. So before we started recording, I actually had like a list of questions that was just like me asking her, what happens if this goes on? And how do you do this? Like just like questions about the world, which she just answered. But we didn't obviously spoil anything on the actual show. Like we spoke about the book, we spoke about, various things about it, but we didn't spoil any of the plot points, which I'm glad for because going into it blind is the best thing. Because when Shamisa originally sent me the book, it hadn't been out yet. So only like a few people had read it. So I didn't know anything other than, the official synopsis. So I started reading and I just like got enthralled by this world, by these characters, and I've already got like a crush on a character, and it was really fun. So I don't want to say anymore. This is my chat with Shameez Patel Papathanasiou. Hi, Shameez. Welcome back to Crushing On. How are you doing?
Hi, Karen. I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. It's been 2 years since we last chatted, and yeah, a lot has happened.
actually can't believe that 2 years have gone by. I feel like the last 2 years have sort of been stolen from me. Like they don't count. I'm still 28 in my mind.
I'm just, as I'm looking at you now, I'm like, the amazing news is that your debut novel, The Last Feather, has been released. I mean, and that's amazing. But also, you know, this is not what we're going to be talking about today, but like a whole Loki show happened while
And
while
we're
we,
getting another one.
yeah,
How
like between
wonderful
the
is
two
that?
years. Things are
Oh,
just working out for you, girl.
it's my my 2 years. It's been my 2 years, even though I don't count it.
So how have you been? Like how is this time been for you?
It's been incredibly exciting. Every experience has been wonderful. Just finding out that I've got an interview with you every single time a reader sends me a comment, seeing
Mm,
bookstagrammers, do those beautiful flat lays with
yeah.
feathers and cups of coffee. My heart it's been singing. So I am exhausted, but so happily exhausted.
So tell us, well, or tell the listeners what The Lost Feather's about. Like how you explain it.
Oh, my worst question. I to first just point out the genre. It's classified as an adult fantasy
Mm,
and an adult epic fantasy because an entire world is created. But in my own opinion, which doesn't really count in a sense that I'm not a bookseller or publisher, I classify it as a soft fantasy
okay.
where it's not hard on the world building and it's character driven and relationship focused. Not only romantic relationships, but also platonic and
Mm,
other familial relationships. The story follows Cassia Khan, who's a 22-year-old med student, and she's trying to figure out what's wrong with her sister. No doctor seems to know what's going on, and her best friend, who had gone missing 4 years ago, is suddenly in her dreams.
mm,
Meanwhile, he's actually trying to contact her because he's been sucked into another realm and he knows how to save her sister.
mm.
That's the intro, at least.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know you described it as soft fantasy, but while reading it, I found Celine to be quite, like extensive and interesting how it was developed. So, tell me where you got the idea from for the realm of Celine and the aspects of the place without spoiling anything. I just, I'm trying to maneuver my way
Talk
around this.
around it.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. We'll be clever about this.
Yeah.
A few years ago, I took part in NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month. It's just the month of it takes place in the month of November, where everyone is encouraged to write 50,000 words during the month, which equates to about 1,667 words a day. I went in blind. I'd not plotted a single point, and and I met up with a few other writers for a little kickoff party, and they handed out these pieces of paper and said we each have to write our pitch, pass it around, and get some feedback on it. And I didn't have a pitch. I hadn't figured out what I was going to be writing about yet. And I just made something up on the spot. And because I felt like I'd committed to this idea of another realm existing, I dove in on the 1st of November and started writing about it. And it was complete trash. It was a terrible, terrible story that I'd come up with. But the world was created in that
Mm.
dumpster fire of a first draft, which I hadn't forgotten. And after all these years, the Celine realm has been alive in my head with no one in it until Cassie and Lucas, who are two fresh new characters that did not exist in NaNoWriMo. Once they'd sort of snuck into my mind, they fit in the world so perfectly with their motives and their goals, and it grew from there.
Okay. So, as you were saying, So where did Cassia and Lucas come from? Where did they come from?
Oh gosh, this is terrible answer because it doesn't give you anything, but they just sort of came into my head. It's just they just they just arrived, and that is how most of my stories happen. Is
Mm,
there's generally it starts with two characters, whether they're love interests or best friends or sisters. It starts with two characters, and it's generally focused on their relationship with each other. And in
mm.
this case, it was Cassia and Lucas. I won't delve into what type of relationship they've got with each other, but they definitely led the way on this one.
And like, we can talk, we can not talk about the type of relationship, but I mean, it's very obvious that they have a very strong friendship. Like that,
Yes.
to deny that, there's like, you can't deny that fact. And I was quite intrigued by that, because oftentimes when we start reading books, like regardless of genre, it's very focused on either one character and the internal relationship with themselves, or and then maybe a romantic character. But Cassia was very focused on, number one, her family and her friends. And I thought that was such a interesting touch point for a female character. I don't know if I have a question in this, or I'm just ranting to you,
So comment.
but just a comment. But I myself love that about Cassia, because there's none of this sort of like, you know, I'm looking for a boyfriend. I mean, I know she's a grown up and she's got real problems, but it's not like I'm looking for a boyfriend, or I'm looking to be the popular girl or whatever. And nothing wrong with people who are looking for boyfriends or looking to be popular girls. But for Cassie, it's more than that. And yeah, I don't know. That's just me spitballing, and not there was no question attached to that.
Well, I've got comments on it, so it works.
Sure, go ahead.
I love Cassia. I know that she
Mm,
is not a very soft character. She's quite stubborn and hard headed. She knows what she needs to do, and she does it in the way that she believes fully is the right way to do it, even when it
mm,
might not be. I wanted to focus on all the different types of feelings and emotions and situations that somebody exists, because you don't only exist for a romantic relationship. And
yeah.
this is coming from somebody who adores romance. I mean, you put
Mm,
anything on in front of me, give me a book or a movie, I will have a couple that I ship within zero point 0.3 seconds,
yeah, girl,
and
I
I will
feel you.
ship them to the end and beyond the end, and it's through the fanfic. Like, I am there for it. But it's all the other things that I feel make us sort of three dimensional. It's the family that you grew up with and the friends that you made, and I felt that they were such a big part of her that
Mm,
it would only be fair to focus on that. Not
mm,
to say there isn't romance, which, like I said, I'm a sucker for it, so it has to
mm,
happen.
yeah, and I'm glad it does, without saying too much. Um, and another thing, a lot of things that were like that have people that have criticized fantasy, and especially adaptations of fantasy, is that when you create new worlds, you can create anything. And writers of fantasy and adaptations of fantasy tend to be very white skewed. And what I enjoyed about The Last Feather is that the world that you create is very diverse, and it makes sense, because I mean, if you arriving in a new realm, you can arrive from anywhere, and you can be any type of person, which makes sense. And like, so was that something that came natural for you, that made sense to you when you wrote it? And it doesn't feel like it was like, oh, I have to have one plus character who looks like this and one plus character that look like that. I felt like, okay, this is how it would be.
I, I don't know if it's because I'm a person of color or
Hmm.
if it's because, South Africa is the rainbow nation.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it felt completely natural to
Mm,
have people of different colors and cultures. And not just that, but something that I've spoken to a few friends about before is even when you are of a certain culture or race, doesn't fully define you. And I mean that in a sense that you can be Indian, like I am, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you do all the Indian traditions or cultures, or that you were even raised with any of those traditions or cultures. In a mixed community, you may have some cultures from some traditions from other cultures. So I wanted people to feel represented without it having to be a stereotype.
Yeah. Perfect.
I hope I did that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I get. So, what authors were you inspired by in creating The Last Feather?
I
Like other
think it
authors?
was such a big mashup of sort of just everything that I've read. um, I obviously, you know that I have mentioned to you that I enjoyed the Akatar series by Sarah J.
Mm,
Maas. I enjoyed From Blood and Ash by Jennifer Armentrout. Both of those are fantasy romance. They're very heavy on the romance part of the fantasy, even though they're targeted at young adults. I also really enjoyed Truth Witch by Susan Dennard, who is also YA fantasy, but with the more subtle romantic subplot. And I don't know if you got this sense while you were reading it, but I'm a big lover of rom-coms. So I hoped to add a slightly modern and comedic voice in some of the situations.
So, what, if any, areas of the story or the journey of Cassia did you struggle with writing?
I struggled with hurting her,
Mm,
with making her fail when she needed to fail, which you'll know the moment that I talk about when you read
yeah.
it. I struggled with that because I knew how deeply it would affect her,
Mm,
and all the other people that it would affect. I didn't. It's a strange feeling how attached you can get to a fictional character. And I remember writing a portion of the story and just like grumbling to myself. And my husband was like, "What's wrong?" I was like, "Oh, this woman, she's just being such a sense of the word." And I was like, but you're writing her. Can't you just can't you just not make her do that?" I was like, "No, this is what she has to do, but I just don't want her to do
mm,
it." So I suppose when I'm like, character, don't do that, it's stupid. And
mm,
then they do it anyway, and that's sort of, it feels like the hardest part because you have built a character outside of yourself. So just because you see something as logical not to
mm.
do, it makes sense for their personality to go ahead with it. And so to relate to that personality, to then know what steps they'll take afterward, to still be true to themselves can be a bit tricky.
And also, I'm sure that you also, you want to protect her, and and for you, like, you want to step between her and the bad decision that she's making, but you can't
Yeah.
because because she has to do it in order for the story to go forward. Um, I can
Yeah, and you
imagine.
do also, wonder to yourself how readers would receive some of these things. Are they as
Mm,
forgiving as I am, or as the other characters may
mm,
be? Or is, if they mess up, are they going to go on to, the reader's sort of hate list for a while? Or
yeah,
it's
but it's
it's
also
it's a
like,
fine line.
I mean, there's been a lot of pushback against like a lot of female characters for being, quote unquote, Mary Sue's, or, not like just being able to do amazing things and not, having to train at it, or, just not being imperfect. So being perfect, of course, Karen. But like, so did you struggle with, making sure that she's not a Mary Sue?
I didn't. I already
Mm,
knew from the beginning who Cassia was, and she's not like me in most of her ways. And again, it's very strange to talk about these fictional characters as if they're real, but I knew that if we were in a room together, we would be friends, but we would butt heads on a lot of things. And
mm,
I already knew what her flaws were and where they would come out. So she was easy to date.
Mm. Okay, that's good. So, so who would you cast to play the main characters? I would like to know.
Oh, this, you're putting me on the spot. um, I ask this to my friends who have read it, and I'm
Mm.
going to ask you the same question.
Uh,
For Cassia, I do have an idea that maybe Naomi Scott could work.
mm,
I think I think she's just sort of fierce enough to to play the role, but also soft enough to show the vulnerability that Cassia does eventually show.
mm.
Um, are you going to make me cast all of them?
Let's. I say okay. Let's do Cassia, Lucas, and Lachlan, just
Okay.
for my enjoyment.
So for
I'm.
for Lucas,
Mm,
for Lucas, it's I mean, it wasn't planned. I will say it, but the obvious choice that has come forward has been Matthew Daddario
oh wow.
and Jacob Elordi.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay. I
I
can.
am
I
on
can. I
board
can
with
see it.
both. I
I
would,
can
I
see
mean,
it. I can see it.
Netflix, if you're listening, I'm okay with it if those are your choices. And strangely enough, I don't have anyone for Lachlan in my mind. I have him in my mind, but not an actor that I've seen. I have somebody sent through a suggestion. I forget his name. He's he's in The Politician. I think he dies at the beginning.
Oh, but okay, yeah. I was gonna. Oh no, I was gonna say something that was a spoiler. But um, I know you're talking about the
I
he
forget
was
his
also in
name.
Hollywood.
Yes.
The politician Hollywood. Okay, I'm googling this shit now. Actor David Corenswet.
Yes, that's the one. Somebody suggested him. I'm not against it.
Okay, I'm gonna think about it. I was also thinking. I weirdly also thought of. I don't know if she's serious enough for the role of Cassia, but like, the Hun from Never Have I Ever. Like, cause just the way she does her emotional scenes are so good.
I
And
thought of her, but I don't think she's got that intensity.
yeah,
I
okay.
do think if we're just talking of sort of popular Indian actresses, I think Simone Ashley could even
Mm.
work in the role.
She's a bit. Isn't she a bit old though? I don't like.
Oh, but I mean, she plays a teenager in Sex
Yeah.
Education.
Okay. Okay. We will also ask the listeners and readers who they think.
Yeah,
I want
I'd
to
love
think
to
about
see
Lachlan some
what
more.
picture. I mean, everyone wants to think about Lachlan some more.
Yeah, I want to think about Lachlan some more, and who again, who I would put in that role.
Oh,
But
but
mhm,
Lucas's mother,
yeah.
Kate Blanchett. I've got her in my head. I think she'd do it
Oh, okay.
amazingly.
Uh, yeah, she does have that kind of vibe. um let's just go on before I go say something that I'm not
Spill
supposed to say.
over.
Yeah. So if you could have any powers, like a first or a reborn, what would you have? What would you like?
Can I choose more than one?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, teleportation,
Mm,
undoubtedly. Can you
mm.
imagine with the price of petrol? It would it would be amazing. And then if I think of load shedding, maybe the power of electricity of somehow, then I'm sorted. Then I've got no more problems.
and then and then finally, I wanna, like, I don't think we asked you this the first time you were on the show. I mean, I might be wrong, but I don't remember asking you this. But who was your first celebrity crush?
My very first celebrity crush was Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone.
Oh wow.
I was obviously a child. Uh, and I will also add, just as a bonus that no one asked for, my first animated crush was Vegeta, which shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone.
Oh. That is from.
Dragon Ball Z.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Okay, thank you, Shameez, so much for joining us
Thank you
on the
for
show.
having me
You know,
and for
um,
reading The Last Feather.
of course, I loved it. I haven't read fantasy in so long, and it was so easy to fall back into it with this. So, you know, thank you for writing it. And so, where can listeners get the book?
They can get it anywhere, apparently, which is awesome. So for ebooks, you can look at all your usual Google Play Books,
Mm.
Amazon, that sort of thing. And online retailers, Loot, Take a Lot, and in store as well. Most exclusive books have copies, bargain books, Wordsworth, of course.
Mm.
And I mean, if they want to come to the launch, they're more than welcome to catch me at Wordsworth in Willowbridge on the 26th of August, where there will be
Yay.
some copies available.
Thank you so much, Shameez.
Thank you.
We'll chat to you again. Bye.
Awesome.
That was our interview with Shameez Patel Papathanasiou. You can get your copy of The Last Feather in stores, online, as she says. You can get it everywhere. But also, you can attend the launch of her book on the 26th of August at Wordsworth Willowbridge. I will be there. Leanne will be there. We will, it's going to be a fun time. You can get a signed copy of her book. But before we head off this week, let's do a little bit of a crushing on, and guys, it's been 2 months. Please keep it short. One thing. I know you want to list everything that you've been doing over the last 2 months, but keep that for your social media pages. So let's go. I'm going to start with Rebecca. So Rebecca, what have you been crushing on?
This feels quite limiting to me because this is the only outlet for me. I'm not on social media at all, so it's gonna be like, oh no, I have to rattle it all off in like 1 minute. But I've been crashing on Hans Zimmer, the composer, not because he's a good looker, because I'm sure someone could find him attractive. But I've been watching videos of how he's gone about composing the score for Dune. And as much as I don't want to like the music of an older white man, I just couldn't help it. He put a lot of effort into that, and it's now inspired me to actually watch. Huh?
And he puts his whole Hans Zusi in that score.
What? I feel like you've taken me on a tangent here. Should I even ask what that means? Okay, I'm going to Google it later and then get in touch with what's going on in the world.
I just made that word up.
Okay, got you. Yes, older white man. But just how much thought and consideration he put into the score has made me want to actually watch Dune now. So I've been crashing on that, and I guess I'll share the rest of it on Duolingo or something. I'll keep the rest of it to myself.
No, you can send us all telegrams.
Duolingo. Okay, what? I can
It's
what?
okay, Rebecca. You can WhatsApp
She
me
said
on the
WhatsApp.
side.
I said telegram. I'm like, here.
You can WhatsApp
I have
me
a
on the
message
side.
from Rebecca.
Yeah, telegram.
Hello, stop. This is what I like. Stop.
You guys.
Okay, Leanne, what have you been crushing on?
So I've actually been crushing on Bullet Train. I think ever since I saw it last week Thursday, it's all I've been talking about. People must be sick of me a little bit. And I swear it's not just because we are doing, like we did the tickets for the screening giveaway. It's actually just because I was so pleasantly surprised by the film. Like, it's funny. It's got great action. It's like a study in Schadenfreude, because I'm generally not one for gruesome things. Like, I avoid gratuitous violence, and they are scenes that are quite like gross, but amazing. And just the cast is insane. It's got Brad Pitt, Joey King, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Brian Tyree Henry, Sandra Bullock, Zazie Beetz, and Bad Bunny, but they are also insane cameos. Like at some point, you're just like, who else is in this
Oh no!
movie?
Don't tell me. I don't. I want to. I want to see
Insane.
that myself.
No, that's I'm not going to tell you. I'm just like they are amazing cameos.
I love cameos.
And basically it's like the thing where, so obviously Brad Pitt is an assassin, he gets on a train, there are a bunch of other assassins, but the way they do the storytelling, it's very fast paced, it's very witty. It reminded me a lot of like Snatch. It had almost like that sort of feel to
Mm.
it. Like there's a lot of moving parts, there's a lot of like stuff going on, but it all ties together wonderfully, and like, yeah, no, really, really good. So if you entered, or if you didn't enter because you couldn't make the screening and you didn't win, don't worry. We have another amazing giveaway thanks to Sony. We're going to be giving away 3 exclusive Bullet Train movie hampers, which includes a bucket hat because Brad Pitt wears one in the film, a Bullet Train t-shirt, and a laptop backpack valued at over R1,000 each. So please check out our social
Whoa.
media for more details and how to enter. We've got 3 of those coming your way.
I'm not allowed. We're not allowed to enter, are
No.
we?
I know. Literally, every time I get the emails and I'm like, look at the prizes, I'm like, oh, I need a new backpack.
Oh, I need a new bucket hat.
I need a new water bottle.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah, no, I know.
Cool.
No, that sounds like a lot of
And you,
fun.
Karanan?
I can
Have
actually.
you been crushing on everything? Anything?
I must I must admit that I've been crushing on The Last Feather. Like that has literally been all I've been thinking of, and I've been like creating
Amazing.
motion in like things in my head and talking about it all the time. But other than that, I've been listening to Beyonce's Renaissance over and over again.
Hey,
And the Queen's remix
cozy.
with Madonna and the remixes with like Will I Am and all of them. I've just been every version of her music I've been listening to. And I'm obviously not as I love Beyonce with my whole entire heart, and I'm not like Beehive, like because I don't think I'm that kind of stan over anyone, but what except for Jane Austen, of course. But like, but the thing about Beyonce is that her music I always feel like it takes me on a journey. I'm
Mm,
always like transported, and that's I'm like. Obviously, Destiny's Child. I love Destiny's Child. I still love Destiny's Child. B Day was one of my first CDs I bought with my own money, and Four is a CD that I like. All of her albums, even the ones that people don't like, I genuinely like as well. So what I enjoyed about this album was that, I mean, I'm sure many people have said this already, but like the songs flow into each other. And if you know me,
yeah.
I always like a good story, and I like albums that tell stories. So one thing I miss with like the Spotify and the digital music age is that because people, cut and paste songs for um for like playlists, or because people tend to listen to music on shuffle, like the journey of an
Mm,
album isn't really enjoyed. And one amazing thing that Adele did when her latest album came out is that she had
yes.
Spotify remove this shuffle option so that you listen to the album like through, which
In
was
order, yeah.
amazing. And back in the day when, oh, not back, they still do it now, but I mean, when people only listen to music on like LPs, you would have to play the entire record. And
Mm.
the record was a journey, and like Renaissance truly felt like that for me, and I felt that during Lemonade as well. um and
Mm,
Lemonade is probably my favorite Beyonce album, but this one, it was just, it's just so much fun. It's such, it's like it's a party album. It's good. It it made me feel happy, and yeah, it's just, I'm naming like the most popular thing in the world right now. But for me, The Last Feather and Renaissance, that's just been all I've been doing lately. To say my TV hasn't been on in a while, just been listening to music and listening to Renaissance while reading The Last Feather, like doing both of those at the same time. But yeah, that's my story. So thank you guys so much for joining us on the first episode of season 5. We have a lot more fun things coming at you this season. So, yeah, thank you for tuning in. Today's episode is brought to you by Syntec. Syntec is a technology company that sources and distributes industry-leading products and brands from around the world.
Me, you can find at Karen Welby on Instagram, at Karen Welbys with an S on Twitter, and sign up for my newsletter, Wildest Dreams, at wildestdreams.substack.com. The podcast can be found at Crushing On Pod on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. You can find us at What's IGN Crushing On YouTube, and you can find more information about this and all our other episodes on our website, crushingonpodcast.com. Send any feedback to mail@crushingonpodcast.com, and you can send us voice notes at +27 78 362 2566. Join our Facebook group, Crushing On Club, where we chat about the show, celebrity news, recommendations, the whole shebang. The show is produced by me, Karen, as well as Rebecca Barches and Leanne Phillipson. The show is edited by Rebecca Barches. Our logo was designed by Nathifa Maroof, and the show was created in partnership with IGN Africa. If you like the show, tell everyone that you can, any way that you can. Keep up to date with episodes by subscribing to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Please rate and review the episodes on Apple Podcasts, as it helps others to find the show. We'll be back next week with another in-depth conversation with a pop culture lover. See you then.